Alright everyone, we have to congratulate the state of Texas because they have repealed their unconstitutional prohibition on the carrying of certain bladed weapons up to and including broadswords and things of that nature. Now, the Second Amendment is not subject to more reasonable regulation sort of bullcrap. Here's the thing. The same people that are saying, well, you know, a sword isn't really a good self-defense mechanism because we live in an age of firearms, in the same token will say yes, but at the same time we should ban these bladed weapons for a reason. There is no reason. If you're carrying a sword, if you're carrying a large bladed weapon, chances are you're not actually going around looking to use it. It's like the assault rifles, sporting rifles. The average gun crime in the United States, and gun crime is at a 50-year low now, so I'm not worried about any gun crime epidemic because there is none. The average firearm used, though, in the commission of a crime is a handgun. It's not a sporting rifle, you know, one of those, well, they're all black and they've got like a folding stock and laser sights. They look scary. I bet they can fire 10,000 rounds a second. Their only goal is to kill children. That's basically what the anti-Second Amendment, the anti-Constitution folks say. They're totally wrong. If they look at the FBI's own crime statistics, I know that sometimes they don't trust the FBI, but at other times they cite the stats themselves. Oh, this many thousands of people died of gun crime. Yeah, it's thousands less than like a decade ago, so don't worry too much about it. There's more we can do. It's called repeal gun regulations and stuff like what Texas is doing. The average weapon used in the commission of the crime is easily concealable because it involves gang violence. That's kind of the point. Some person, they want to stalk and murder their ex. You think that they're carrying around a Browning or something like that on their back? Yeah, officer, I'm just going to my ex's house. Don't worry about this gun that I'm carrying. Now they're gonna put it in their pants. They're gonna holster it up and put it here and, you know, have a shirt over it. Put it under their sweatshirt or something. A lot of these shootings are gang related and involve one gang member shooting someone else who owes him money, owes him some crack, or is another gang member or something like that. I'm sure there'll be some people, by the way, who claim that that's a racial statement. It's really not. Yeah, the gang doesn't care what color you are as long as you're willing to sell drugs or prostitute somebody or something like that. It almost always takes place in the inner cities. Now, gun crime doesn't generally involve weapons that are not easily concealed. Right now, the backwards-ass knife laws in most parts of the country mean an easily concealed knife, yeah, you can carry it around. 3-inch or less blade, perfectly deadly. You stab somebody in the chest with that, yeah, you might pierce their heart. You stab them in the guts, rip them open or something, and you can conceal it really, really easily. But who's gonna try to attack somebody with a 5-foot-long sword or something like that? It's not going to really happen. You'll get the occasional person who kills someone with a machete, but it already happens anyway. Usually, if it's domestic dispute related, which is where you get a lot of those blunt instrument or bladed instrument crimes, it's on someone's property. They can carry a sword around if they want. I've got a sword. I can carry it around on this property all I want, but under Vermont's screwy-ass laws, if I have a pocket knife, something I could put in my pocket, nobody knows I'm even carrying it, I can carry that around all day. If I mean to commit a crime, yeah, that's great because I can conceal it easily. But if I go down the street with a sword, for some reason it's considered overly intimidating. It's not overly intimidating. This is the same, by the way, bullshit argument that's made about sporting rifles. Oh, it's intimidating. It's made to look intimidating. It's big and it's scary and stuff like that. Just carry a revolver or something. Yeah, a gun that's more often used in crime. That's the whole point. It is unconstitutional. And then McDonald versus Chicago plays in here. McDonald versus Chicago states that the states are also bound by the Second Amendment. The fact that the Second Amendment constrains federal power doesn't mean it gives states carte blanche to additionally regulate rights into privileges. It doesn't give them the ability. For instance, if a state said, well, our citizens can't speak freely unless they're saying stuff that we like, that wouldn't be allowed. It would be called unconstitutional. Likewise, they can't pass additional strictures on the Second Amendment either. A lot of existing gun control is also unconstitutional. Then again, so is the drug war, so is civil asset forfeiture. It violates the right to a speedy, fair public trial. and various other rights as well related to legalism. There are a lot of things that our federal and state governments do that are totally illegal, actually. And this is one of them, bladed weapon regulations. There should be no prohibition on what kind of bladed instrument you can carry around. If somebody else is intimidated, that's their problem. It's not, it's like if you're carrying a sword in Texas, where it's now legal. If somebody else feels uncomfortable, that's their fucking problem. They might also feel uncomfortable with what I'm eating. Maybe they're a militant vegan and I'm eating a pork sandwich. Does that mean that I have to conceal my sandwich, not eat it in public? Somebody's hyper-religious. I'm wearing a shirt with a pentagram on it. Does that mean that I have to cover up that shirt like I'm 10 years old and going to a fucking school with a dress code or something like that? No. Individuals have these rights to do what they wish. If you're not swinging that sword around, if it's in its sheath, on your back, or you've got it like a machete or something, you're not threatening anybody with it. You're not attempting to attack anybody with it. There's no victim. Somebody's saying, I'm triggered, I'm offended, I'm scared because of the situation I'm in. Too fucking bad. Grow a pair. That's the proper response. It's the same with speech. A lot of the people say, well, yeah, this is pretty good that Texas is doing it because, you know, Second Amendment. They'll still stand for, like, reasonable restrictions on free speech. Bullshit. There are no reasonable restrictions on free speech. None. None whatsoever. There are no restrictions on it. There's criminal speech, as in, I'm threatening credibly to commit a crime. Okay, that's different. I'm slandering somebody for a commercial reason. Yeah, it's different. I'm breaching copyright. Okay, those are covered under separate laws that don't specifically have anything to do with speech. It's the threat to commit a crime or actually doing so by your words because you're attempting to, attack somebody verbally, something like that, in a commercial manner to denigrate them by spreading lies. It's the same with guns. It's the same with bladed weapons. If somebody else is offended, but you're not doing anything else otherwise wrong, you're not swinging the weapon around like an idiot, you're not carrying it around while drunk and presumably more likely to commit a crime under the influence, not publicly intoxicated, you're not threatening anybody with it, who cares? It's like the Bowie knife. This was actually banned in Texas, despite the fact that its namesake was a Texan. And people found this strange. That was the main reason for it. Why shouldn't you be able to carry a sword? Yeah, sword rights. Yeah, it's part of the Second Amendment. It doesn't just cover firearms. The Second Amendment isn't about what is a pragmatic weapon for home defense. What is a pragmatic weapon for hunting? What is a pragmatic weapon for having a militia capable of repulsing a foreign state? It's all of these things and more than that. It's about, I don't need a reason to own this specific firearm. It's fine for me to own it simply because I'm a citizen, not a subject. We don't operate under a monarchical system. We don't operate under some oligarchy. We don't operate under a dictatorship. You're a citizen, not a slave. That's the whole point. The whole point is you should be able to carry those weapons if you choose to carry them. If you're on your property, go ahead and brandish them all you want, by the way. It's like some of these states have dumbass laws, like here in Vermont. Here in Vermont, we have no real restrictions on firearms. We repealed the last remnant of our gun restrictions was a ban on suppressors. And that's been cast aside. We now have essentially zero restrictions on guns. You can carry them openly, you can carry them concealed, you don't need a permit, you never did. We had constitutional carry before constitutional carry was a term that anybody even used because of our state constitution delineating specifically that Second Amendment right as basically limitless. But yet we still have those dumbass restrictions on the knife is too long, you're carrying a sword. You carried a baseball bat in a threatening manner or something like that. We also have a dumbass law whereby if someone breaks into your home and tries to attack you, and then they start fleeing when you whip out your gun, you can't even continue to defend yourself. You just have to back off and let them, like, scramble out your window. Yeah, so good luck keeping them accountable or something like that. It's dumb. And you're going to get the occasional person that gets put in jail for manslaughter because the criminal turned around at the same time that they fired in self-defense or what they thought it was. And then the criminal ends up suing them in civil court too and getting a bunch of their money. It's dumb. It shouldn't happen. I think we need a more polite society, and I don't think, by the way, carrying swords around is a problem. Look, people early on in the country carried them all the time. They had no problem with the concept. Whether it was a foot-long bayonet on the end of their musket or a cutlass or whatever it happened to be, they wandered around with these weapons all the time. Explicitly covered under the Second Amendment. The very idea was that people had the ability to be armed where they went so they could defend themselves because they were citizens. And a sword is perfectly acceptable, by the way, for self-defense in some situations. Yeah, it totally is. It's the same as defending yourself with a baseball bat. Lots of people have one of those by their door. You know, they live in a bad neighborhood, they get the baseball bat there, so that if some crack dealer or something tries to break down their door, then beat him in the head. Why not just, you know, stab him with a cutlass or something? Of course you should be able to do that. You're a citizen. The Second Amendment explicitly protects that. And McDonald versus Chicago, a Supreme Court decision overruling Cruikshank, which was a Democrat racial era sort of Jim Crow law to try to keep blacks from arming themselves, by the way. And they still pointed out like the Cruikshank decision was a good thing. They still pointed out even to this day, goddamn McDonald versus Chicago. It makes it clear the states cannot pass burdensome regulations on firearms and other weapons that would denigrate the Second Amendment. They are bound by the U.S. Constitution. It's not just the federal government that can't abuse you. The states can't abuse you either. Wow, would you consider that? It's like a wonderful thing. People have liberty. And by the way, some people are being alarmist. They're like, oh, violent crime is going to rise in the state of Texas. No, it's not. Violent crime isn't going to rise in the state of Texas because people have the ability to carry a broadsword around. You think the average person is going to walk up to a group of people and start lopping people's limbs off with a cutlass? Or a scimitar or whatever it happened? They're not going to do that. That would be they'd have to be a psycho. But the thing is, psychos already try to build explosives and stuff like that. If someone's psycho, yeah, they might commit a crime. You'd have to be psycho in order to think that it's a good idea to arm yourself with a very visible bladed weapon, just the same as with a very large sporting rifle, and start attacking people. You'd have to be crazy because it's obvious you don't care if you're caught or killed. Because you're not trying to hide what you're doing. No, what you have to worry about is someone who has a concealed weapon. A handgun, a pocket knife, something like that. Just walks up behind you, boom, you're dead, and they walk off. They're in some bad neighborhood, they put it right back into their sweatshirt or whatever, and they just waddle through an alley and disappear. And probably nobody ever figures out who did it. That's what you have to worry about, not some person waving the Gadsden flag or someone flailing a broadsword around. It's just, it's not reasonable to worry about these things. It's like if I saw somebody walking down the street with a sword, unless it was a katana, then my first inclination is to believe that they're like a hardline atheist. They're part of the army of Dawkins or something. Otherwise, they're carrying any other bladed weapon. I'm like, oh, it's a knife. It's a machete, whatever. Maybe they're clearing brush. Why do I care? They're not attacking me with it. It's like I've seen plenty of people carrying firearms around. I know this is a foreign concept to a lot of people that live in the big cities or in a blue state. I see it all the time. People have their rifle in the back of their pickup truck and stuff. Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. Get over it. You're so worried about firearms. The police carry them. Criminals certainly are carrying them around. That group of Crips over there's a couple of handguns in that crowd. Yeah, and those are the people that you would rather not be armed. Everyone else, who cares? Unless they're given over to lunacy, in which case they should probably be institutionalized. That's about all. Peace out.